So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video, and I suppose before we get into this I should say we are pretty close to the 25th of December, Christmas if you celebrate that, and then we have the New Year. So in case I forget to say it any closer to those dates, have a good holidays and also have a good New Year. And if you're watching this after Christmas, let me know in the comment section below what you got, or maybe you already know. Let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, another year, 2022 is over, 2023 is just around the corner, another year without any Call of Duty Zombies. And I wasn't going to make a video on this because I was simply just scrolling through Twitter, as I do, and every so often I see the odd comment on COD Zombies pop up on my timeline, but now and again I see one that gets me thinking, and this one to me was interesting because I thought it was a pretty good discussion to have for a YouTube video. I do this quite often anyway. I see tweets that involve something I want to talk about. But anyway, I found this interesting because it's kind of a thought that I've had as well, and I suppose a lot of other people. Just because of the situation that Zombies is in right now, we haven't had any new stuff from it for a few months. We're not having anything next year in 2023. We're not going to be having anything for the first half of 2024 either, until the new game comes out. And usually this isn't a problem when I think about it, because we have been in this situation many times before. The wait between BO1 and BO2, the wait between BO2 and 3, the wait between BO3 and 4. That one especially because we had to wait 2 years between BO3 and 4, yet it didn't really feel like that. Although it was quite a long time ago now, just recalling back to those times, it felt like between Black Ops 3 Zombies and Black Ops 4 Zombies, there was still a lot to do. There was a lot of replayability in terms of gameplay. You still wanted to play Zombies, even though now we've had more games, which technically means there should be even more to do. It doesn't really feel like that. Is it because Black Ops 3 felt like it was a game that you could play more, that would last longer, and you wouldn't get bored of as quickly than people did with Cold War or Vanguard Zombies? And the same goes for the Easter eggs and the storyline. People were making storyline videos for Black Ops 3 Zombies for the whole 2-year gap that they had to wait for Black Ops 4 Zombies. Yet, again, here we are, after Cold War finished, no one was really making storyline videos. I would say maybe a couple of months after, 3-4 months at a push. And then for Vanguard Zombies, there isn't really anyone. But for BO3 Zombies, as we had to wait for Black Ops 4, for the whole 2-year gap, loads of people were making content on the story, which to me shows that somewhere along the line, after Cold War and Vanguard, the longevity of those games in terms of gameplay, storyline and Easter eggs to discover isn't really there. If Black Ops 3 or even BO4 or maybe even BO2, but BO3 especially, if that was the last game that we had back in 2021 and we had to wait 3 years now until 2024 until Treyarch's next game, still right now people will be making content on it because there was content to make. It doesn't really feel like that with the most recent games. Yes, you can always make videos on gameplay, that's simple to do, just play the game, you can do different challenges, stuff like that, but everything else that's intertwined with Zombies just doesn't feel like it has that longevity that it used to. But going back to what I was saying, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I saw this tweet from Milo where he said, "Some days I feel super motivated to go back to the old Zombies Ether story stuff, spending weeks investigating loose ends, uncovering new secrets. And then I remembered they closed the door on Ether and there's no point. It's done." Makes me really sad, to be honest. And so far, nothing from the new era of the Call of Duty Zombies storyline gets my brain firing in all cylinders in a way that Ether used to. As a creative person who is so passionate about Ether stuff, I would gladly dedicate so much of my time to that classic material if it felt like it still mattered. But they cauterized the wound and cut Ether off. There's zero reason to even think about it anymore. So some of this I agree with, and I know a lot of other people do as well, but some of it I don't, especially the part of them cutting Ether off. I don't think there's zero reason to even think about it anymore, because technically Cold War is a continuation of the Ether story. This is the Dark Ether, that was the Ether. It is a continuation of BO4. At the end of BO4 we banished everything to the Dark Ether, and at the beginning of Cold War everything started to escape the Dark Ether. So it is a continuation. We still have some old characters such as Richtofen, we have Samantha. So I wouldn't say there's zero reason to think about the old story, because yes, whilst they cut off a lot of things from that, it's still connected. Perhaps, yes, a lot of it doesn't really matter anymore in terms of, well, what if this happened, or could this become a thing? For most cases, the answer is it doesn't matter, because everything was banished to the Dark Ether. But like I just said, as we've seen in Cold War, things started to escape. And some of those older things, as has even been said by Treyarch themselves, could begin to seep back into our story. There's a lot of things that I doubt they're going to bring back, such as the Ultimus or the Primus cast, just what a lot of people want. You also do have to remember that we were probably never going to see those characters again anyway, because one of the main characters being Takio, the voice actor of him, he had a stroke, he's no longer doing voice acting. So even if Richtofen, Dempsey and Nikolai were to return, we do technically have Richtofen. Takeo wouldn't be possible, not with the original voice actor anyway, and I don't think I want to see him back with a different one. So those characters besides from Richtofen are gone, but Treyarch did say some things could return. We have seen a couple of things already in Cold War, but perhaps there's the possibility in their next game we see even more. But apart from that, a lot of this I do kind of agree with. I do think the Dark Ether story isn't as interesting as the Ether story from World at War to BO4. What we've seen so far from Cold War to Vanguard just isn't as interesting to me. I was thinking about why this could be. I got into the COD Zombie story in BO1, but I really started to, I guess, get super deep into it in BO2 and Black Ops 3 especially, and I really like BO4 as well. And I thought, well, what's the difference between the, say, BO3/4 era of zombies and what we've seen so far in Cold War and Vanguard? And the answer I came up with is, even though a lot of people might not like this, I feel like the story they told in BO3/4 was more fantasy, whereas what we've seen so far in Cold War and Vanguard I would class more as science fiction, I guess, sci-fi. And then I thought, well, actually, when I go to the cinema, fantasy films are always super interesting to me. So is sci-fi, but I really like the idea of fantasy, and that's kind of what Black Ops 3 and 4 Zombies was. We had the Apothicons, these sort of aliens, and with that, when you make things more unrealistic, if you want to say aliens are less realistic than zombies, but then you can make a story that's, I suppose, more unrealistic as well. And when you do that, when you don't have to follow history or science to an exact point, you can scramble a story up and make it like what Ether was towards the end. Some people liked that, some people didn't. Personally, I did, because that's just what I like from games, even movies. A super deep, interesting, convoluted story that almost doesn't make sense. Whereas what we're being told so far in the Dark Ether is, it's more simple. Yes, it doesn't have as much history, but I also think by this point, 2 games in, which is what we were in World at War and Black Ops 1, by the end of BO1, I was more interested in the Ether story then, 2 games in, than what I am 2 games into the Dark Ether story in Vanguard. There's also a lot of other things that come into play, such as we don't have a set cast of characters. The way that the story is being told in Cold War and Vanguard so far, a lot of it through intel, even though there's a lot of the intel is just not interesting. It's filler, not really important information. And even the loose ends that we do have in the Dark Ether story, such as, I guess, what's happened to Cortifex, where was Pet going at the end of Cold War, what happened to the Forsaken, what will Richtofen do next? I don't know, I just don't find myself as interested as I feel like I usually would be. And I think that's the same for a lot of people, because the story especially just isn't as spoken about at this point as the older story would have been. It just isn't as interesting. That, of course, is a personal preference. Maybe you find it more interesting than the older one. Personally, I don't. What I liked about Ether is it did leave you wondering. You could make hundreds, even thousands of theories, whereas now you're pretty much told what's happening. There isn't room for theory, besides from the odd one here and there. Yeah, overall the story just isn't as interesting, not to me, I know to a lot of other people as well. That also comes down to Easter eggs. There's just simply not as many Easter eggs in Cold War or Vanguard Zombies than what there were in the older games. So I just thought it was something to think about. I wanted to make a video on it because I have this same feeling as well. There's just something about it. I can tell you little things about what I don't like, but I guess the ultimate question is, should they have ended Ether? Yes, everything has to end sometime, but there were other ways they could have gone with it. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.